Welcome back to the 2-minute warning. Back on the topic of the NFL today. We're one day out from the NFL draft, so we're going to be doing one of our favorite videos today, a Would You Rather NFL Draft Edition, asking some NFL draft scenarios and deciding which outcome we'd rather have. You guys know how Would You Rather works. Before we get into the video, question of the day, and that is on the topic of the NFL draft, who do you guys think is the most underrated, undervalued player in the draft? Comment below what you think, and at the end of the video, you'll hear Jay and I's opinion on who we think is the most underrated player in the draft. But let's get right into it. Jay, what's your first Would You Rather scenario?
This one's pretty unlikely, but I've heard these two teams be mentioned before and trading up for Kyle Pitts. I don't think it will be happening, but I've heard guys like Colin Cowherd, like Bucky Brooks, mention the Cowboys or Arizona, just imagining what this offense could be with Kyle Pitts. So if one of the two were to trade up for Kyle Pitts, would you rather be the Cowboys or the Arizona Cardinals?
So I think I'd rather see Arizona Cardinals. I'm looking for, first of all, I like the Cardinals better. No particular reason. I like Kyler, and I would love to see, in some perfect world, a team with D-Hop, J.J. Watt, two guys that I love from Houston, with Kyle Pitts. That would be fantastic. And for the Cowboys, I want to see them go defensive guy, see them maybe even trade up for Surtain or J.C. Horn, something like that. Take a cornerback. I think Cowboys need the defensive help. But I think that he'd be in a much better situation in Arizona, and I want the bets for Kyle Pitts. So I'd rather see Arizona trade up and take him.
Yeah, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but it is just not a good idea for them to go for Pitts. They have the offense, and their defense needs to work. Arizona, they're a little more balanced. I wouldn't say one's extremely stronger than the other, and therefore you can make a trade like this. Kyle Pitts, if Arizona wasn't going to make the playoffs, they sure as hell would now, I think, with Kyle Pitts. And like I said, Cowboys, kind of a similar idea that you have. I would be a good offense, but the Cowboys are just too desperate on defense.
For the Cowboys, they can win the division with their offense now and a defensive help. The Cardinals are in the toughest division in football and could use the help. Even though they already had a good defense and offense pretty good, they could use the help. My first scenario is going to be considering the LA Chargers, a team that, with Justin Herbert, needs to protect him. In the situation, or my situation is, would you rather see them trade up for a guy like Sewall or Slater that would probably be available in the 5 to 10 picks, or would you see them take a trade back with someone, say the Raiders, who need an O-line bad, see them trade up, and then the Chargers take someone like Darisaw or Vera Tucker?
So good thing I wrote an extra Chargers or an extra Would You Rather question, because I had that same question. Yeah. I would go trade down. I had this question in mind as well. I like Penei Sewell, but the Chargers, they just have too many needs, in my opinion. Left tackle, they're just kind of ignoring Joey Bosa. That he needs some help up there. And then in the secondary as well, Derwin James could use a number one corner to be by his side. So I'd like to see them trade back and take some draft capital in the future. And right now I feel like a realistic pick for them is Christian Darisaw.
Yep.
I think if they traded back theoretically with the Patriots at 15 or Raiders, like you said, at 17, there's a good chance they could still possibly have Darisaw at 15 or 17 and got a second or third round.
That was kind of my point, is they could potentially trade back and still get something that fills that hole.
Kind of like we said how the Dolphins, when they were at number 3, they were eyeing Jamar Chase, and they moved back to number 6 for an extra first rounder, and
he's still on the table for him.
Exactly. So similar aspect, I would definitely go with the Chargers trading down, but I mean, obviously, if Sewell fell to like 9 or 10, I'm going to make the jump then. But assuming he's going in like top 6 or 7, I'm not giving up that type of future for the Chargers just yet. I'm trading back and acquiring draft capital.
Yep, for the same reason, I'm going to go the same choice. I'd rather see them take a few picks or trade a little bit back. I do think Darisaw or Vera Tucker could certainly fill that role. But the Chargers have done a good job already with Corey Linsley, picking up Odeabushi. They got Bulaga up there. They have a good O-line already. They've certainly made improvements from last year. So, for example, say they hadn't touched their O-line yet, then I would say do whatever you can to get a guy like Sewell. But they've already patched it up pretty well up there, so I would drop back and still take a guy that's solid in Darisaw or Vera Tucker.
Okay. Near you.
Me up, go ahead.
All right. One more for me. The Washington football team or Chicago Bears, I feel like they're in weird quarterback situations. Assuming the 49ers do not draft Mac Jones, I think he takes a big drop. I think he falls into the late teens. Yeah. And Washington and Chicago, they're pretty much back-to-back in this NFL draft. Would you rather see Mac Jones fall to Washington or to Chicago? Both got weird situations.
I'm going to go Washington. I think that they're the better team. All around, certainly better. Okay, Chicago has a pretty good defense, but I do think Washington has the better defense. They got Terry McLaurin on offense, Antonio Gibson, if I'm not mistaken, out of the backfield. Yep. They do have, I think they have a better foundation. And I think the Bears, I don't want to see the Bears take another quarterback. They've made mistakes. They draft Trubisky. They move off of Trubisky. Then they go ahead and sign Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
The last thing they need is another quarterback. I think they need to find a way to make whatever they have work. Washington, on the other hand, has 40-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick and then this weird up-and-coming guy in Taylor Heineke. So I think Washington could use the younger guy. That we could see a situation like in Miami, Tua as a true rookie playing behind or playing with Fitzpatrick. They seem to work really well together. Tua struggled with Fitzpatrick, came in and won games. We could see the same thing with Mac Jones and Fitzpatrick. It seems like throughout his career, Fitzpatrick does not operate well as the starter, but when there is another guy to start and Fitzpatrick can complement him, it works well together. So Mac Jones could become the starter and then be complemented by Fitzpatrick. So I'd rather see Washington.
Yeah, I would agree because also if Mac Jones turns out to be bad, I think Washington is a team that's they got to cut their losses. I mean, they did it with Dwayne Haskins. Once they found out he's a bad guy, they cut their losses immediately and moved forward. Chicago, I don't want to say Mac Jones and Mitch Trubisky are the same type of quarterback by any means, but they're similar in the sense where everything needs to be perfect for them to succeed, and I do think if that is the case, I do think Washington has a better surrounding team than Chicago when it comes to receiving core. I like Allen Robinson, but I think Washington overall has a better O-line, has a better receiving core, has a better running back, has a better coaching staff, and the defense, Chicago's up there with their own Khalil Macks and Eddie Jacksons, but I do think them losing their defensive coordinator and Chuck Pagano, they're going to take a big step back, and the Washington defense, they're already one of the top ones last year. They had the best defensive line in the NFL, arguably. They're only going to get better, so I'd like to see Mac Jones fall to Washington. But my biggest reason would because I think the Washington understands if he is not it, they will cut their losses. Chicago, they might be like they did with Trubisky and just deal with them for 5 years.
Right. I think Chicago just in general is kind of a mess right now, and I wouldn't want to see any rookie that has hope for the future go there at the moment. So my next scenario is you got Atlanta with a much better offense, at least for total points than you'd imagine. They were pretty bad, but they were, like I said yesterday, like an 8th-ranked offense. Or you have Miami, just an all-around very good team with a struggling quarterback or just kind of a rising quarterback right now. Would you rather see Pitts go to Atlanta or fall to Miami? I don't think he's going to make it past Miami either way, but would you rather go to Atlanta, join Julio Jones, or go to Miami?
A little bit of bias. I don't want to see Kyle Pitts go to Atlanta when I'm a Bucs fan because that wouldn't be fun to deal with. But even outside of that, being a Florida fan, I guess more bias is coming into play. I do want the best for Pitts, and I do think he has the best future in Miami. It's just a younger roster. They don't seem entirely invested in Matt Ryan, and if Pitts is available for Miami, that might have meant that the Falcons went with the quarterback, and they're just trying to rebuild. And not to say Kyle Pitts he's going to be a rookie. He'll be young for a rebuild, but I want to see Kyle Pitts win now. And in Miami, they are ready to win now. They were just short of the playoffs last year, went 10-6, and they're only going to get better, but they're going to have more reps. And I do think adding a Kyle Pitts to a healthy receiving core, hopefully a Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Mike Gesicki, I don't want to say guarantees the playoffs, but you have a good shot, and Kyle Pitts is the type of guy that can really push you for even a division title. Right.
So Pitts in Atlanta would be awesome. I mean, you have Calvin Ridley, not hopefully, but maybe you don't trade Julio Jones. That's a rumor right now. So you got Ridley, Jones, and Kyle Pitts. That offense is gonna jump to possibly top 5 in the league as far as if Matt Ryan has a pretty good year. But Atlanta defense is the problem, and that team will probably still go 500 at best, even with that offense. I don't want that for Kyle Pitts. You go to Miami, yes, you have Tua, who a lot of people, there's question marks all over him about his future in Miami, but there's no doubt he goes there. This is a playoff-ready team, so I'd rather see him go to Miami for the best for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, fair enough. For my last one, it's going to be LA Chargers-centric. Would you rather see the Chargers get a little bit of luck in this draft and Rashawn Slater just falls in their lap to 13 and you get that, or they get Christian Darrisaw at 13 and a guaranteed Asante Samuel Jr. in the second round? So Asante Samuel Jr., it's debatable. He might go late first, and if he does go to the second, he might go in the top 10 picks. The Chargers have him 47th in the second round. They're not going to get it. So Darrisaw and Asante or just Rashawn Slater. Not to say they won't have a second round.
Yeah, but for the scenario, Rashawn Slater, a lot of people make the argument that based off the tape, I'm no tape expert, but he's better than Sewell in some aspects. They say he's more athletic and he's more versatile, whatever. I'd still rather see him go Darrisaw and Asante Samuel just for the fact that it gives them there's more value in two good players. The Chargers need the secondary help, or at least a cornerback with Asante Samuel. I think will be good out of FSU, if I'm not mistaken. So Sewell will be good, or Slater, sorry. Rashawn Slater would be good, but Darrisaw we've already established I think would be almost as effective filling that hole. And when you throw a cornerback like a Samuel, hopefully he'll be good into the mix. I think it's an obvious choice.
Yeah. I am actually going to go opposite. I think Rashawn Slater, I don't even think the Chargers are expecting to get him. I just think he's on that draft board. They're going to snatch him up, and obviously it's not going to be this exact situation, one or the other. But I also like Rashawn Slater when it comes to depth as well, because he could play the position 1 through 5. He could be interior or he could be a top tackle. If for some reason a guy gets hurt, he could fill in the role of Ode Abushi or Matt Filer. I mean, obviously, left tackle situation would be worried about, but I just like that he is a depth guy that could play anywhere. And I think Justin Herbert in this offense could really use a guy like that, could just really take this offense to the next level and be useful anytime, anywhere.
100%. All right, my last question is going to be kind of a San Francisco situation. You had Justin Fields, who kind of put in enough work in college to become the second best quarterback in the draft, but it seems that he's falling. Would you rather see Fields kind of get the recognition he deserves and go to San Francisco as the I guess the third best quarterback after Zach Wilson, or would you rather see him fall completely out to New England, join the dark side, and have more success there than the other quarterback in San Francisco?
I don't want the Patriots to do good, and I do think Justin Fields is the third best quarterback. I have him above Zach Wilson, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he should go to the Niners. I've mentioned it earlier. The Niners are almost a front runner for the Deshaun Watson trade, and then they fell out of that, and all of a sudden they're going from a very mobile and athletic quarterback in Deshaun Watson, and now, let's go to immobile Mac Jones. I don't know how that transition happened, but it did. But to me, Justin Fields, if there was one guy to compare to Deshaun Watson, it probably would be Justin Fields in this draft. He's got the 4.4 speed. That's probably faster than Deshaun for sure. It's an unofficial time, but to me, Justin Fields is the second best quarterback, and I think the Niners are honestly in a better situation than the Patriots as of today.
Yeah.
But especially with the Fields being able to learn behind Jimmy G rather than Cam Newton, I'd like to see him go for San Francisco. I think it's a better situation, and I just don't want New England to do good.
Yeah, it seems like Fields has kind of dropped off. He came in as the second best. Now Zach Wilson's going to go to the Jets probably, and now it's Lance or Mac Jones to San Francisco. So I think I take this as disrespect to Justin Fields. I'd like to see him fall to New England and prove everybody wrong. I mean, not that I want to see New England be good, and I think that would mean that they win 10, 11 games. I don't think he's going to go straight there, and this success means they win the Super Bowl. Yeah. But I'd rather see him go to New England and join the offense, join that team with Bill Belichick, and prove everybody that I'm better than you guys thought, and you should have taken me in San Francisco.
Yeah, I got to say, Justin Fields probably go into a better situation, and not to take anything away from Kyle Shanahan and the Niners, but I do think if there's one coach to get more out of Justin Fields than Kyle Shanahan, it of course would be Bill Belichick. He's arguably the greatest coach of all time.
For sure. So those are our Would You Rather situations. Comment below whether or not you agree with our takes or not. But for the question today, Jay, most undervalued or underrated player in the draft?
2 months ago, he might not have been underrated, might have been overrated, but I'm going with Caleb Farley. He was at one point the number one corner in the draft, and now the dude has rumors of possibly falling to the early second round. To me, I understand there's health issues, but it was a minor back surgery that's being blown out of proportion. I got to go with Caleb Farley just because he was ranked at number one at some point. Now he's fallen on the list of 4 and 5. I can't have him go there. He's underrated.
Yep. I think I'm going to go with a running back in Najee Harris. Physically he's huge. I think he's mature. He's draft ready, but I guess just by I don't know what the word is. Just by the past, running backs don't get drafted real early, maybe late first round. But I think if there's one running back that we'd see go, I don't know, as early as possibly Arizona at 16, would be Najee Harris. I think he's the most underrated player in the draft, guys. That's all for the video. Thanks for watching. 2-Minute Warning.